Welcome to Gentle's World Agency, where we bring to you the latest updates around the world. On this report, Russia launched missile strikes on several regions of Ukraine on Tuesday, the second day of heavy bombardment aimed at the nation's infrastructure. Biden says he doesn't believe Putin would risk using a nuclear weapon. Before we continue with this report, please subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell to be notified when next we drop a new video.
Biden says he doesn't believe Putin would risk using a nuclear weapon. After U.S. President Joe Biden warned last week that the risk of nuclear Armageddon was at its highest point since the Cuban Missile Crisis, he told Gentle's agency on Tuesday he doesn't believe President Vladimir Putin would ultimately take that step. "I don't think he will," Biden said when asked by Gentle's agency whether the Russian leader would use a tactical nuclear weapon. A prospect U.S. officials have watched with concern as Russian troops suffer embarrassing losses on the battlefield. "I think it's irresponsible for him to talk about it. The idea that a world leader of one of the largest nuclear powers in the world says he may use a tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine," Biden added. The president said even Putin's threats have a destabilizing effect and warned of the potential errors in judgment that could ensue. "The whole point I was making was it could lead to just a horrible outcome," he told Tapper. "And not because anybody intends to turn it into a world war or anything, but just once you use a nuclear weapon, the mistakes that can be made, the miscalculations, who knows what would happen." He, in fact, cannot continue with impunity to talk about the use of a tactical nuclear weapon, as if that's a rational thing to do, Biden added later. "The mistakes get made. And the miscalculation could occur. No one can be sure what would happen, and could end in Armageddon." Close quote. Biden refused to disclose what a U.S. response would look like should Putin follow through on his nuclear threats. But he said the Department of Defense had proactively developed contingencies should the scenario come to pass. "What is the red line for the United States and NATO, and have you directed the Pentagon and other agencies to game out what a response would be if he did use a tactical nuclear weapon, or if he bombed the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine, or anything along those lines?" Tapper asked. "There's been discussions of that, but I'm not going to get into that. It would be irresponsible of me to talk about what we would or wouldn't do," Biden said. "Have you asked the Pentagon to game it out, though?" Tapper asked. "The Pentagon didn't have to be asked," Biden said. Biden spoke to Gentle's agency a few hours after meeting virtually with members of the group of 7 industrialized nations who heard from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the need to bolster his country's air defenses amid the new Russian bombardments. Russia launched missile strikes on several regions of Ukraine on Tuesday, the second day of heavy bombardment aimed at the nation's infrastructure. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked G7 nations to help his country establish an air shield against aerial attacks. Russia carried out over 30 missile strikes on Tuesday, compared to 84 on Monday. Roughly half of those on Tuesday were neutralized by air defenses, according to Ukraine's military. It is unclear how much longer the Russian military will be able to sustain such attacks. In an exclusive interview with Gentle's agency, U.S. President Joe Biden said he believed Russian President Vladimir Putin is a rational actor who badly miscalculated his ability to invade Ukraine. Russia confirms it's targeting Ukrainian energy facilities. Russia is targeting Ukrainian military and energy facilities in attacks on Tuesday, according to the Ministry of Defense in Moscow. Today, the armed forces of the Russian Federation continue launching the massive attack using high-precision long-range air and sea-based armament at the facilities of military control and energy system of Ukraine, the ministry said in a post on Telegram. Energy Minister says about 30% of Ukraine's energy infrastructure hit since Monday. Around 30% of energy infrastructure in Ukraine has been hit by Russian missiles since Monday, Ukraine's Energy Minister Herman Halishchenko said Tuesday. The minister told Gentle's agency that this was the first time from the beginning of the war that Russia has dramatically targeted energy infrastructure. Official at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant kidnapped by Russian forces, Ukrainian company says. Ukraine's state nuclear energy company Energoatom said that a deputy director general for human resources at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has been kidnapped. In a post on its Telegram channel, Energoatom said that Russian terrorists was holding Valery Martinyuk at an unknown location, adding that Russia wanted the plant's personnel files to force Ukrainian staff to work for Rosatom, Russia's nuclear operator, as soon as possible. G7 leaders vow to hold Putin to account for recent attacks. The G7 heads of government vow to hold President Vladimir Putin and those responsible to account for the recent wave of attacks in Ukraine. After a virtual meeting Tuesday, they committed to support Ukraine for as long as it takes, while promising to continue to provide financial, humanitarian, military, diplomatic and legal support. Russia declares Meta a terrorist organization. The Russian Federal Financial Monitoring Service has added the US tech company, Meta, to its registry of organizations involved in terrorism and extremism. The parent company of Facebook and Instagram has been banned in Russia, says Rosfin Monitoring. That ban now requires banks to freeze funds for companies on that list and suspend services to their accounts. Thanks for staying with us. Please support us with your likes, comments and also share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to click on the notification bell to be notified when next we drop a new video. Stay tuned. See you in the next report.